Hi everybody, this is Thomas again. I've decided to try making another video, see how these end up going. So, I've got a bit of a surprise for you guys today. I have two Ikoria Pre-Release packs that I'm going to be opening for you all. I got these over at a game store in Syracuse called Play the Game, Read the Story. I was out there with my family the other day, and I stopped by, and they happened to have a ton of these. Since they didn't really get a chance to hold their pre-release, they had about, a solid 10, 15 of these left in stock. So I decided that, might as well take the chance, pick them up, and who knows, maybe I'll open up a Shark Typhoon promo. That'd be nice. So, I was just going to go ahead and start with this one right here. Let's get cracking. Okay. There we go. Hopefully I'm not shaking the camera too much. Anyways, I was really looking forward to the Ikoria pre-release, but, due to all the circumstances regarding quarantine and coronavirus and all that, we never got a chance to really fully enjoy the pre-release. I've ended up picking up a couple of these and playing with a friend at home, but, it's not quite the same. But this was probably the set I was looking forward to playing the most in both draft and in pre-release. And unfortunately, I didn't really get a chance to really do that pretty well with either of these. I did it a bit online, but it's just not quite the same. Man, the symbol for this set is so cool. Anyways, so I'm gonna hide this promo all the way in the back, and we'll get that last. Let's start with the packs. Okay. A prickly marmoset, and let's take a look and see what we get. Oh, these stays open so cleanly. Okay, let's see what our first one. Phase Dolphin. I thought the concept for this is interesting, and I think in a limited format it has potential to be a decent attacker. The forward defense helps it eat hits from a lot of things. Where it lets you eat up the hits, and then you can use its ability to let something with lower toughness but a higher power value actually get in and make the damage. So let's see what we got. Cathartic Reunion, Divine Arrow, Serrated Scorpion. I've seen a lot of people play this in Standard recently. It's a really solid one CMC black drop, and the fact that it pings, it life gains in addition to dealing damage on the death trigger makes it pretty solid in all consideration. Survivor's Bond, Heightened Reflexes, standard red combat trick. Sleeper Dart, Convolute. Not a bad one. It's more useful early game. Unfortunately, when your opponent starts really racking up mana, especially if you're playing against something like mono green ramp or any form of ramp with green in it, this isn't really the counter that you want to be drawing. Unexpected Fangs. Man, the whole concept of this set is just amazing to me, and I really wish that we could have had a better chance to enjoy it. Essence Symbiote. Now this I've seen. I was watching some arena gameplay the other day, and there was quite a few people running this in their mono green stomp decks. Because they would run things like, Gem Razor. Like I saw someone mutate a Gem Razor on top of a Questing Beast, and you had these on the field, and it was nuts. And here's our first uncommon. Fight as one. Choose one or both. Target human creature you control gets +1/+1 and gains indestructible until end of turn. And a target non-human creature you control gets +1/+1 and gains indestructible until end of turn. Now this I thought was one of the more thematic cards in the set that really that came across as being a spell only that this set could provide, in all honesty. I love the whole concept of the bonders and their bonded creatures. Chittering Harvester. Let's see. Whenever this creature mutates, each opponent sacks a creature. It is a higher cost black card, but the mutate effect can get really out of hand. Back for More. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. When you do, it fights up to one target creature you don't control. This is a Raise Dead plus a fight effect. It's if it weren't for the fact it was 6 CMC, this card would be crazy nuts. The high cost of it really prevents it from being super abusable. But, I could see decks where this is a potential, not a game ender, but definitely a really handy spell to clear up threats on the board. Quartzwood Crasher, Trample Tribal. Whenever it's got Trample 6/6 for 5, which isn't bad, but then it has whenever one or more creatures you control with Trample deal combat damage to a player, you create an XX green dinosaur beast creature token with Trample, where X is the amount of damage those creatures dealt to that player. This gets out of hand so fast in a dedicated tribal deck. Like this helps you like get into late game. And we have a Scoured Barrens for our land. And lastly, we have a Human Soldier token. What is it? What is that face? What is the face that guy is making, man? Okay, let's just toss the tokens over here. Okay, on to pack 2. Let's see what we get. I think what I'm going to do afterwards is show what each of the packs in this box had, and then come up with some potential ideas for what decks could be potentially built out of this in terms of a sealed event format, deck-wise. Spontaneous Flight. Wingfold Petrodon. Tentative Connection. I thought Luca was an interesting planeswalker. I honestly think the story they released alongside the set really did his character dirty. If you have read the story, I think you know what I'm talking about. That the story and the actual set, like the lore you can glean from these cards, such as this one, they honestly show two very different stories. Whereas this one, they kind of show him as a character who's learned to adapt and bond with his monster. And in the other one, it's just... I kind of don't want to spoil it, but at the same time, if you read it, I think you'll know what I mean. Okay, Cavern Whisperer. This is our first comic book art. I love all the comic book arts out of this set, man. I think it was one of their best decisions in terms of what they did with this set for their showcase art, to do it in this comic book style, because I think this whole set benefits from the style in general. Giant monsters in comic books? Yes, please. Humble Naturalist. This is an interesting card. I see this is a card that I think gets picked up in green draft a lot. This set is very creature focused, and green tends to be a very creature focused color. So I mean, even though it is restricting, this can help you because especially a lot of these cards are dual or 3 color wedges. I can see why people would like this card a lot. It just helps you get the correct mana you need to cast those giant kaijus. Patagia Tiger. I'm not going to talk about most of the commons. I think most of them are pretty self-explanatory, and if most people here who have played with the set at all know most of them already. And a Sleeper Dart again, and Convolute. Geez, didn't we get the same 3 sets of commons before? And Unexpected Fangs. Yeah, that's weird. Let's see. Mystic Subdual. Enchant creature gets -2/-0 and loses all abilities. I think the fact that this causes them to lose all abilities is a lot better than just say necessarily like a Capture Spear. Because I think with the Capture Spear, even though it can prevent stuff from attacking, there are just some cards that, yeah, you want to stop them from attacking, but their abilities, because they're still active on the field, are so much worse. I mean, this definitely doesn't stop, like, an 8/8 from running over your face, but it can stop some of these really annoying critters that have really annoying effects. Like, for example, you played on this one, and it would stop the token generation completely. Okay. Keen Sight Mentor. I thought the Mentor cycle was a very interesting cycle, and I love the concept behind it. And I thought the keyword counters were really neat included in this set. Sanctuary Smasher. Let's see. I haven't actually played with this one. This is a 6-drop first strike cycling for 3, and when you cycle it, oh, okay, it's this one. It's the this is a cycle in this set where by cycling the card you can give a creature the equivalent keyword counter for that color. I think black has Death Touch, blue's probably Flying. I think white is either Vigilance or Lifelink, and then green is probably Trample. And our rare is Karuga the Macro Sage, the giant hippo guy. No, dinosaur hippo, my bad. So I think this is a very interesting card. The fact that your starting deck has to contain CMC 3 or greater and land is interesting. It really limits you on your first couple of turns, but if you have cards that have alternate casting costs, I think you can make a solid deck around this restriction. Now, the ability itself isn't bad. I mean, I think it can definitely late game fill up your hand again, but the fact of the matter is that in blue and green you have to fill the board with a lot of permanents. And I think there are some decks that do it, but I think I don't know. I think I've seen people use this card in like Cynic Flash. At the same time, you do a lot of these games now really require you having solid starting turns because there are so many decks now that can get out of hand if you don't respond to their answers on turns 1 through 3. You know, I think, but you know, even just as a include in the deck proper, I think it's a solid card. You know, and then we got a Swamp. And we got ourselves a cat token. Okay, here comes pack number 3. Let's see what we get. Okay, it looks like our first common is going to be Glimmerbell. Flying 1/2 untapped Glimmerbell. Now, I think this is a very interesting. I like this common, especially if it's the bottom of a stack of a mutate stack, just because the untap can be very abusable by some of the other creatures in this set. Let's see, let's keep going here. Pyroceratops. Now, if I'm correct, I think this one was actually a reprint, but I think it was a very fitting reprint for this set. Main Serval. Survivor's Bond again. Unlikely Aid. Now this is a really nice black combat trick. Gains indestructible until turn, +2/+0. I used this quite a lot the few times I drafted it in the set. Mysterious Egg. This is also just a devoted to being your mutate target. That and the Caterpillar. I think it's the 4-drop or 5-drop. Corpse Churn. This one I thought was really interesting for black in this set. There is a lot of graveyard recurl, but I think especially in a black deck that does rely on a lot of creatures, I think because you always feel bad, right, about sending your really key creatures to the grave, and you don't necessarily have the necessary recurl in hand to get it back. I think this is a really solid answer to getting like key creatures that die back from the grave just from the effect alone, in addition to loading your graveyard for more effects in your deck. There's probably better options, but I think even as just a common level, I think it's a really solid card. Flycatcher Giraffid. This was like one of those, what, when I saw it the first time, like what the heck did they make here? I thought it was like a giraffe and a chameleon, but apparently it's an antelope and a lizard, which makes like no sense to me. I guess they didn't want to put giraffe instead of antelope, because I don't think has there been a giraffe creature card in this set? Who knows? Let's see. And Pacifism. I love the art on this. Just I know it's a fairly common reprint, but you know, it's always nice seeing how each plane takes its own concept of pacifism. The fact I also got a flower crown too is hilarious. And Blister Spit Gremlin. I tried to make this card work a bit in draft. The problem is you really need to get a deck that really was like mainly a blue-red spells matter focus, and at the best of times, this maybe did 2, maybe 3 damage. But the problem is the fact that you have to pay to ping also makes it worse. I think that's just to counteract the fact that it's a 1-drop. But I think it's a neat concept. I just don't think it had enough going for it to really make it that powerful. And neutralize. I like this one. This is one of the better counter spells I've seen in a while. The fact that you can cycle it late game or against a deck that you're not necessarily you're dealing with, like, say, a board state rather than what's coming out of their hand. This one lets you cycle through, just cycle into your deck to see if you can pull a better answer. I think it's a really solid counterspell. Trumpeting Gnar. Oh, geez, this thing, yeah. This one just loves to be mutated or to mutate. Just the 3/3 green beast creature tokens can get out of hand quickly. And Escape Protocol. This was an interesting enchantment. I think I tried to make it work once or twice. But it really does require you to build around the cycling mechanic. And especially in draft, you can't always get the cards you want, you know. And then you actually have to have your opponent have creatures or artifacts to... Oh, and then you actually have to have creatures and artifacts on your side of the field that you can abuse. And I know that there's when you balance a stack back onto the field, the creatures all separate out. And I know that in some cases that's great. I think this will take a very specific kind of deck to abuse, but I'd love to see people make it work. And Mythos of Illuna. This is the Teamer of the cycle, the Teamer card of the cycle. And it lets you make a token copy of target permanent. And if you pay Teamer, in addition to the 2 blue, so the way these cards work is that they are monocolored with an additional colorless casting cost. But if you pay the colorless with the appropriate mana for that wedge, it'll allow you to do an additional effect, or in this case, I believe it just lets you make an extra token. Or in this case, this token has one of this permanent ETBs if it's a creature, fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. Which I think is fitting for Teamer, you know. And we have a Bloodfell Caves. Our land. And a terrible, terrible double-sided token. Okay, pack number 4. Coming right up. Let's see what we get. Okay, we're starting off with our Eye of Vanilla red creature for the set, Frenzied Raptor. We have Imposing Vantasaur. Vigilance 3/6 for cycling 1, a 6-drop though. I mean, the cycling 1 kind of helps it out, but I still don't see this having any play outside of limited. Let's see, Gust of Wind. This spell costs 2 less to cast if you control a creature flying. It's a bounce for 1 to target. Oh, it's instead of creatures, so like compared to Unsummon, this one allows you to target any non-land permanent. And lets you draw a card. I could see this maybe working in a blue Flyers Matters deck, or say like the blue white Flyers. But at the same time, I think there's probably better spells you're gonna want to be running. And the fact that it can bounce a permanent isn't always the best, because there's a lot of permanents now in Standard that typically have effects that hit when they enter the battlefield, and you don't typically want your opponent to be recurring those effects. And Durable Coil Bug. This was a neat card. It was always something I was never unhappy to get in a draft later in a pack, for example. The fact that it can recur itself, even at an expensive cost, could help late game, just if you were struggling to get creatures on the board. But yeah, I don't think this will have much play outside of limited. And Fertilid, one of the better reprints in this set, honestly. This was a card that I was glad to see come into Standard again, and I've seen plenty of players use this currently in Standard. And I think it's going to probably see play up until it gets rotated, and over whenever it does get rotated. And another heightened reflexes. And Aegis Turtle. And let's see, we got Unexpected Fangs again. Essence Symbiote. And Light of Hope. Not a bad one CMC white cantrip. I've seen people just even put this into a wish board, for example, with Fae of Wishes, just as something just for when they need it. I think it's a very interesting card, and I think it has potential to see standard play. Maybe not at the top level, but definitely in some competitive decks. And Void Beckoner. Do you remember how I was talking about that red card earlier that cycled and gave something the first strike counter? This is the black card out of that cycle. They'll have these really high mana costs, and they're great if you can get them on late game, but the fact that you can also just give something already on your board Death Touch is very strong. And let's see, General's Enforcer. This is one of the few humans in the set. Legendary humans you control have Indestructible. Don't they... I want to say they run this in Mardu Winota, but I'm not sure. I'd have to double check the list. I haven't actually really looked at the list for those yet, but we'll have to see. I think it's an interesting card, and I think if there are some very strong human legendary creatures that come out in future sets, I think this will see a lot of play. I think it definitely has commander potential, depending on the right deck, but it could definitely help protect your commander if there aren't really better options for it. And the fact you can also exile something from a graveyard, so anybody's graveyard, it lets you just make a 1/1 human soldier token. So I could see going wide deck liking this card. And we have a Savai Crystal. I like the crystals. I think they're great to include. I definitely don't think they're going to have standard play, but I think that they're definitely going to be included in a lot of commander decks. The fact that they also have cycling makes them a lot better than they should be. And a Savai Triome. Not bad. I always love getting the Triomes. I don't have quite a full playset of them yet, and so this is always a nice find in the packs here. The Tricycle lands are always great. And we have a Thornwood Falls. And a human soldier token. I like how they actually ended up having different art for their human soldier tokens. To kind of show off the different factions in the world of Ikoria. If I can pick up this other token, there we go. Yeah, I think it's neat. Okay, time for pack number 5. So far, this has been a pretty nice box. We haven't really hit any mythics yet. I usually find that in the pre-release packs, we usually tend to hit about 1 mythic at the minimum. Sometimes you get lucky and hit maybe 2 or 3 if you're really lucky. But let's keep going. We still got 2 packs to go. Spell Eater Wolverine. This is another card that really doesn't like to see play outside of Spells Matters decks. Basically being a red-blue include in draft. Garrison Cat. Not a bad 1/1, and it makes a body when it dies, so it's a decent include if you're trying to make something like a white weenies deck. Oh, excuse me. My little girl, my dog, Rayma, wants to get out of the room here, so let me let her out real quick. Okay, Rayma, you want to go downstairs? You go downstairs? Yeah, hi. Okay, sorry about that, folks. I'll probably just end up editing that out, so you won't even need to hear the apology. But I'll probably just at least mute the video and just cut out whatever I was saying to my family. But anyways, let's keep going. So as I said, Garrison Cat, not a bad white card for draft. And we have another Phase Dolphin, Cathartic Reunion, and the Bushwag. Oh, I love that they included this card in the set. I think it's a hilarious include. And it's also a pretty good green pump spell, like for late game too. The fact that it's also a 1/1 with trample is hilarious. And we got Durable Coil Bug again. And Excavation Mole. Man, I saw these get snapped up like crazy in the few times I got to play in-person draft with this set. People really like this in black-green Graveyard Recursion. And Boot Nipper. This is another one that's cycled. So let's see. There's this one that lets you choose touch or lifelink. I know there's the white Nightmare Squirrel that lets you choose flying, I think, or lifelink. And then there's the green, the Giraffarid, that does reach or trample. I want to say there's one for blue and one for red as well, but I can't recall what they are. Okay, anticipate. Look at top 3 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand and rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Not a bad blue spell. And Fire Prophecy. This is one of the better red kill spells in the deck. And I think this definitely has standard potential. The fact it deals 3 damage to target creature, you put a card from your hand on the bottom of the library. If you do, you draw a card. I think the fact it lets you loot your hand is great. And weaponize some monsters. This was an interesting enchantment. I didn't really see many people get to work it. You had to have enough creatures to really warrant it. And the problem was that oftentimes your creatures were so stacked in a mutate stack, the ones that were really important, you never really wanted to sack them. So maybe in a token deck it could work. You just, late game, you can just start pinging your opponent with the tokens. Monster Step. Make something 7+7+7 until on a turn, and then you force something to block it. And then it cycles, which is always nice. And Insatiable Hemophage. This has Death Touch, and whenever this creature mutates, each opponent loses X life, and you gain X life, where X is the number of times this creature is mutated. I thought this was a really interesting card. Unfortunately, black isn't a super popular to use the mutate mechanic in. Most of the ones that I've seen currently have been mostly in green and blue. Unfortunately, the other colors don't really get the mutate love as it currently stands from what I've seen in standard play after the recent banning. And even before then, mutate wasn't seeing much play except maybe people trying to make the Mirror Flash work with Sea Dasher Octopus. But I think it's a neat card, and the fact that you can also mutate this on turn 3 is also pretty interesting. Like, say for example, you're running like a mono black Devotion life drain deck. And Colossification. You know, the biggest enchantment, largest enchantment in the game, makes something +20/+20. But the fact that you have to tap, see now if you put this onto something with that Glimmer Bell from earlier that lets you untap, you'd of course have to have, what is it? Let's see, 7 mana, 9 mana available to play this on a creature, and also pay for the untap ability on the Glimmer Bell if it is even in. Well, you could probably just cast it on Glimmer Bell itself at that point, but especially if it's in a mutate stack, and then you have to worry about keeping alive. But I thought that this being a 20/20, I think it's hilarious, and I can't wait to die to this in Commander. And we got oh man, look at that art. It's awesome. Got a mountain, and then we have another human soldier, another variant of those human soldier tokens from earlier. Okay, last pack of the box, and let's see what we got. I see our cat friend again. Let's see what we got in this set, this pack. So we pulled another Garrison Cat. Keep Safe. This is one of the cheaper. The fact that it can only counter spells that target a permanent you control makes it limiting, but I think it's still a solid counter spell. It also lets you draw a card off of it, which isn't bad. And I think in the limited format, this can be very strong because a lot of times most answers are going towards a creature's opponents. Now, I don't think this is going to see a lot of standard play unless you're a very permanent focused deck. But especially if you're playing, I don't know, I could see it having potential, but I think there are as it currently stands before rotation, better counter spells you could be running. But who knows? Maybe after rotation we'll see, maybe see if it has play potential. Go for Blood. The red card of the set that makes creatures fight. With cycling, which is not bad. And Divine Arrow. This is the white card of the set that deals damage to target attacking or blocking creature. It always seems like there's at least one of these in every set. Survivor's Bond again. Put that in the wrong pile. Let's see, Blitz Leech. When it's got Flash for 6, and when it ETBs, target creature opponent controls gets -2/-2 until on a turn. Remove all counters from this creature. I think in this format, this is a solid late game pickup, especially if you have to worry about something like a Crystalline Giant on the opponent's side of the field. I think it has a lot of potential. I think it's solid. I don't think it's going to ever see standard play, but I think in this limited format, it's always I wouldn't say it's a pack. It's definitely nowhere close to being pack one, but you know, second time the pack comes around, all the commons, uncommons, and rares are gone. This is not a bad pickup for black. And Vulpix, one of the cutest cards in this set. Probably the only time we'll ever see a fox bird creature. And it just really loves the mutate because you just keep on making it grow stronger and stronger every time it gets mutated. So it's a really good target for a big mutate stack. And here's the other great target for mutate stack, Migratory Great Horn, which ramps you whenever it mutates, which is amazing. This I see play in standard all the time. It's ridiculous. And Gloom Pangolin. It's unfortunately a vanilla black card, but the fact that they made a Nightmare Pangolin card always makes me really happy. And we have our second comic book art of the video. We have a Dreamtail Heron mutate for 4 flying, and whenever this creature mutates, you draw a card. And we have Titanoff Rex, our big green boy of the set, 11/11 for 9, and it's also part of that cycling of the creatures that cycle and give a token, and this one being Trample that I was talking about earlier. And we have Chittering Harvester again. Not bad. And we have that's our second back for more. And Extinction Event, a really solid card that I've seen go into a lot of sideboards recently. And we've got Bloodfilled Caves, and we have a companion token. I don't see this often. Neat. Okay. Well, and then last but not least, we have our promo for the box, and it is a Labyrinth Raptor. Not the best promo I could have hoped for, honestly. It's Menace. It's basically a Menace Lord in a sense. I mean, I think in the right deck, it could be devastating. The fact it's also a 2-drop really makes this card more appealing than it should be, and that you can pump all creatures with Menace. I'd love to see somebody make a Menace Menace tribal deck around this card. I think it could have solid potential. But I don't know if it will ever be ever be competitive enough. Well, I'm gonna leave the promos in the wrapping. I like to do them I like to leave them in there unless I'm actually playing with the cards. So let's just take a look at the rares again that we got. So we have an Extinction Event. No, in the wrong pile. Colossification, Savai Triome, Mythos of Aluna, Karuga the Macrosage, and a Quartz Wood Crasher. Honestly, there's no indication for this box of where to go. Honestly, just going based off of what I had in the uncommons and from what I can recall in the commons, I would probably go for black being one of the major colors, and probably a combination of black, red, and green would be my best guess. Especially the fact we got excuse me, sorry. Especially for the fact that we got 2 back for Moors, I think really helps make this those colors a lot stronger with the recursion, and I think we got some really solid answers in those colors as well. For example, like Chittering Harvester, you know? And I think this could make a very interesting deck. Who knows, maybe I might try and make a video where I go over deck building with these, but I think just from what I see in this deck, I think those would probably be the colors I go with. And I think just the fact that I got the Extinction Event really helps. And if I were to run green, I'd probably run Jund, and I'd probably run these 3 cards. Might just include this since it would tap for 2 of the colors I need. And then I do have like the Bloodfilled Caverns, Migratory Great Horn for ramp, Fire Prophecy, you know, yeah, I think it has potential in those colors, in all honesty. Another Bloodfilled Caverns. I definitely probably run red and black, maybe with a with green being the third color. You have like Humble Naturalist, help color fix. Yeah, I'd probably design something. I'd probably build around those colors, in all honesty. Anyways, let's pick this all up, and I'm going to head on to box number 2 here. Okay, let's, hopefully, we didn't hit a single mythic in that box, so hopefully box number 2 will be a bit more promising. Okay, let's just put this all to the side here. And here we are with box numero dos. Okay, let's go ahead and open this baby up. Okay. Okay. And take your bets as to what color die. I'm hoping we get a blue one. And right on the money. Nice. Let's get a look at that awesome set symbol again. Nice, 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 nice. Okay, and again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the promo, slide it into the back of the box here, avoid looking at it, and let's start off with pack number 1 again. And we've got, oh, our friend Kong. Kongula. I think that's the name. I'm just going to call him King Kong. Cathartic Reunion. Okay, we've seen that several times already. Divine Arrow, Glimmer Bell, Sudden Spinnerets. Oh, the concept of this card is hilarious. Just something suddenly just growing a pair of spinnerets to use. It's hilarious. And I think, as Vivian puts it, what's natural in Ikoria continues to delight me is a very fitting quote for this set. And we have Cavern Whisperer. Rumbling Rockside. I thought this was an interesting red kill spell. Definitely is better the later game it goes. And I think in a deck that potentially is focused on ramping, probably maybe like Gruul, I think it would be a decent kill spell. The fact that it's for 4 and it's not always consistent damage makes it kind of iffy in my books for actual seeing standard play. Aegis Turtle. And we got another Mysterious Egg. Corpse Churn. Thwart the enemy. It's the green fog effect of this set. And we have our third comic book art of Trumpeting Gnar. God, look at that face, man. It's okay. Hotmaster Liger. Whenever this creature mutates, other creatures you control get +X until end of turn, where X is the number of times this creature is mutated. Boneyard Lurker. Okay. Mutate for 2 hybrid black-green mana and 2 colorless, and it's got a CMC of 4. Whenever this card mutates, return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. Solid. And we have our first mythic of the box, Illuna Apex of Wishes. Not a bad pull. It's Teamer +2 additional. It mutates for 2 blue, green, red hybrid, and a 3 additional. Flying Trample 6/6. Whenever this creature mutates, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land permanent card. Put that card onto the battlefield or into your hand. Really solid, in all honesty. And our land is a Dismal Backwater, and we have a Human Soldier token. Okay, on to pack 2. Hopefully this box will continue to impress me. Opening the Luna pack 1 definitely helped with that. Okay, we've got our friend Main Serval again. Glimmer Bell. Cathartic Reunion. Survivor's Bond. Blitzleech. Flycatcher Giraffid. Light of Hope, Rumbling Rock Slide, and Aegis Turtle. And another Mysterious Egg. And here we have the green Mentor of the set, Hornbash Mentor. When ATBs, you can put a trample counter on target non-human creature you control, and it lets you put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control with trample. Not bad. Unbreakable Bond. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield with a lifelink counter on it. Not bad. And we have an Insatiable Hemophage. I talked about him earlier, but this is comic book arts, and man, is it spooky. And we have a Crystalline Giant, the RNG card of the set. I thought the concept is nice. I feel like the actual creature isn't really fit well with the set, but I still think it's hilarious that they included this, and it's this just huge wall of text. And we got a Plains, and we have another Human Soldier. Okay, on to pack number 3. Let's see what we get. What do you guys... Oh, sorry. We actually have the keyword tokens this time. I prefer the ones that come in the actual pre-release kit. I understand why they couldn't include them in the normal boxes, just due to how, in the normal packs, due to how thick they are, but these are so much better than these flimsy little things. Let's just put those off to the side. Ferocious Tigerilla. I'm surprised this is the first one we've seen out of the box. This is the red one that enters with a trample or a menace. It's part of that cycle I was talking about earlier. Checkpoint Officer. This is actually not a bad card. It's a 2-for-1/2 that you pay to tap target creature down. It's helped me out a lot. It definitely could be better, but I think it's a solid card overall. And we have a Frost Veil Ambush. You tap up to 2 target creatures. Those creatures don't untap during the controller's next untap step, and it has cycling for 1. And Prickly Marmoset. First strike, whenever you cycle a card, it gains +2/+0 until end of turn. Really is fitting in a Cycling Matters deck as a payoff. And Honey Mammoth. Honestly, it's a 6/6 for 6 that gains 4. It can't complain. It's definitely not a card I'd want to choose if I had better options, you know. And we have a Cavern Whisperer comic book art. And a Day Squad Marshal. When ATBs, you make a 1/1 Human Soldier token. And Cry Station, the crab out of the set with Flash. And another Excavation Mole. And Suffocating Fumes. Creatures your opponents control get -1/-1 till end of the turn. Not bad. Definitely could be better. The cycling on this card makes it more appealing, but it's still definitely not something you'd see standard play. And here is the blue Mentor out of the cycle, Wingspan Mentor. It lets you put a flying counter on a target non-human creature you control when it ETBs, and it lets you pump those flying creatures. And Ominous Seas. I saw a person make a deck around this the other day. I think I actually once got to actually trigger this during a draft event. I think it's a fun enchantment. I think in the right setting, it has potential. And we have Sanctuary Smasher again. And an Eerie Ultimatum as our second rare out of the packs. Return any number of permanent cards with different names from your graveyard to the battlefield for, I believe this is Absban. Asban? White, black, green. And we have a Scoured Barrens for our land for the turn, for the pack. All right, on to pack number 4. Oops, grab that. Okay, let's keep on going. Not too bad. We definitely have some options in terms of what kind of deck to make out of this pack. But let's keep on going and see what we can get. Blade Banish. I was surprised when they included Wanderer in this cameo. but I think it really fits the character of Wanderer as that she travels, that she can't stay in any one plane for too long. It's also not a bad spell in itself. Keep safe. Forbidden Friendship. Was I calling this Cathartic Reunion before? Yeah, I totally was. Jesus, what am I thinking? Oh no, this is there's Forbidden Friendship and then there's Cathartic Reunion. They have almost the same art. Snare Tactician cares about cycling. Tap target creature and opponent controls whenever you cycle a card. Mutual Destruction. Now this was an interesting black spell. And it gets flash if you're playing flash creatures. You have to sack a creature, but I think if you can sack, like, say, a 1/1 for their 7/7 with trample, I think that's a pretty good trade for 1. Fully Grown. You basic pump until end of turn, put a trample. The fact that it gets a trample counter makes it a lot more deadly. And Farfinder. This guy goes in lots of decks, and I'm glad they included this in the set. I think it really does help because this is a 3-colored focused set, that it really does help with your mana fixing, especially in a limited format. Springjaw Trap, Excavation Mole, Boot Nipper, Will of the All Hunter. Target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. If it's blocking, instead put 2/1/1 counters on it. And cycling. Not a bad white cantrip. And Clash of the Titans. This one is target creatures fight another target creature. It doesn't. It took me a minute or two to realize that when I first saw this card when it was released, that it could let you choose your opponent's creatures for both targets. And Savai Thundermane. Whenever you cycle a card, you may pay 2. When you do, it deals 2 damage to target creature and you gain 2 life. Again, cycling matters, but in this set, the Jeskai colors being white, blue, and red definitely care about cycling a lot more than the other colors typically do. And so this is, in a cycling-focused deck, this is a pretty good uncommon to get. And we have our second companion to the set, Umori the Collector. Each non-land card in your starting deck shares a card type. Not too hard to pull off in this set, considering that especially if you stick to specific colors, they will typically always have, based on color, a specific type. Now, there are quite a few cards that are exceptions to that rule, but it's not too impossible to pull off. And honestly, I could see this working fairly well in a green-black tribal deck, honestly. And we have a swamp. And we got a shark token. Best token in all the set. Who knows, maybe I'll still get a chance here to pull that Shark Typhoon. And ironically, one of the best cards in the set. Okay, and our first card out of this pack is Thieving Otter. When it deals damage to an opponent, you draw a card. I love the card. This card is just so adorable. I think there's like 2 otters in this set, the other one being the companion. And we have a Spell Eater Wolverine, Garrison Cat, Phase Dolphin, Fully Grown, Dead Weight, one of the better black spells to come out of this set. It's a really solid just kill spell for weaker creatures. Dreamtail Heron, Coordinated Charge. Creatures you control get +2/+1 till the turn with a cycling of 2. Cloud Piercer comic book art, not bad. When this creature mutates, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. Exuberant Wolf Bear. When this card attacks, you may change the base power and toughness of target human you control to Exuberant Wolf Bear's power and toughness until end of turn. I like the concept for this card, and I think in limited format, this is a really solid card because you do have humans with non-humans a lot in most of these decks. Now, outside of that, you'd have to build a pretty specific deck around it, but I think it definitely has some potential. Maybe not standard potential, but for casual play, I could definitely see it being a fun card. And we have Keen Sight Mentor, which is our white mentor, and gives a target creature when it ETBs a vigilance counter and pumps said vigilance creatures. We have a Cunning Night Bonder. I've seen this hit some standard play with people trying to make the Mirror Flash work. And we have Gigantha, the Wellspring. Companion, no card in your starting deck has more than one of the same mana symbol in its mana cost. Honestly, not the hardest casting condition to make. The fact that it also makes Wooburg mana for is this mana can't be spent to pay generic mana costs. I know people like this card a lot for Commander. I think I've seen some standard play. And we have a wow, our first foil, and it happens to be a rare. Cub Warden. Lifelink. Whenever this creature mutates, create 2/1/1 cat creature tokens with lifelink. Not bad. That's a solid rare. And we have a Blossoming Sands. Okay, so far not too bad. We got an extra rare out of that one pack. And we are on pack 6 now. Let's see what we get. Surprised by how little well, there's quite a few of these cards we've seen a lot, and quite a few that I'm surprised we haven't seen as much, such as this one, Janif Stinger. Another card that cares about cycling, pings one whenever you cycle. Snare Tactician. Of 1 mind, the spell costs 2 less to cast if you control a human creature and a non-human creature. Draw 2 cards. Honestly, for this set, not a bad piece of draw spell. Lava Serpent, haste for 6 CMC creature with haste, cycling 2 and 5/5. Not bad. Ram Through. I've seen people play this in certain green decks. It's a really solid fight spell because it deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control instead of it being a direct fight. And if the creature you control has trample, the excess damage is dealt to that creature's controller instead, which can be pretty strong, especially if you start pumping up something like, say, Questing Beast. And because the fact that Questing Beast also has Death Touch, I think the way this works is that because the card's technically dealing damage, the Death Touch trigger still activates, so I'm pretty sure this sees quite a bit of standard play. Another Serrated Scorpion. Christ Station makes his appearance again. Fire Prophecy, not bad. Savai's Sabertooth for vanilla white. Migratory Greathorn. And Sonorous Howlbonder. Menace, each creature you control with Menace can't be blocked except by 3 or more creatures. Makes Menace even stronger. Good if you really care about Menace. Lead the Stampede. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal any number of creature cards from among them and put the revealed cards into your hand. You put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Not bad. And we have Blitz of the Thunder Raptor. When this card deals damage to... Blitz of the Thunder Raptor deals damage to target creature planeswalker equal to the number of instant or sorcery cards in your graveyard. If that creature planeswalker would die, exile instead. I think this has standard potential in, say, something like an Is It Spells deck. I think it has some real potential just to kill some really tough things. But definitely it's very specific to those decks. And Lava Brink Adventurer, one of the better rares for draft, as it gets protection from either odd or even CMC based on your choice when it ETBs. So it definitely is a powerful card in the right situations. And we have an island and a dinosaur token. Okay, so this was not bad. We got an extra rare. We got 1 mythic out of this. As to what I would build, this one's a bit of a tough one, honestly. You could go with you could honestly probably try to build around a Luna. In terms of support for that, I don't know. I think honestly maybe something in white with these 2 is strong. We have some decent uncommons for... I probably wouldn't build a cycling style deck. I think honestly I'd have to spend a good bit on this to really figure out what colors to go. But I think this one has potential. You know, the Crystalline Giant just goes in whatever. I think you could make the Gigantha or the Amori work. based on what you make. Probably not the Mori. I think it's a bit of a harder cost in this situation. But I think you could definitely make Gigantha work in most decks. I wouldn't necessarily worry about the Eerie Ultimatum. I don't think this, out of the pool of cards I have in this, that there's a lot of recursion from the graveyard for it to really care about. Well, I mean, or to actually even stack the graveyard. Now, if we had pulled, say, a Fiend Artisan, definitely would consider running that, but I don't know. Tell me what you guys think. Let me know what kind of deck you would want to make out of this pack. But I think we pulled pretty decent from these two packs. We only got one Mythic, but we did get an extra rare out of this. And we got some pretty good cards. And we definitely got some staples. Nothing crazy like Shark Typhoon, but we definitely got some cards that I think are going to see standard play, especially once rotation happens. And a lot of the, what people considered as the standard for, say, kill spells and counter spells get rotated out, and they'll need replacement. That some of the spells out of the sets that have come out within since Eldraine will start seeing more play than they have currently. But that also depends on what comes out in this Zendikar set, and I know for a fact that once I get this Zendikar set, or once it's released, I'll definitely be picking up a booster box or two to do a video on that as well. Well, for any of you who are still awake and or watching the video, thanks for sticking till the end, and I hope you enjoyed the pack openings. If you guys have any comments or criticisms, please let me know in the comments below, and I'll see what I can do. I know my setup is pretty basic, just a phone camera and my table, but I'm trying to make it better for you guys, and so just let me know how you guys feel. Thank you, and have a great day. See ya. Wait a second, I'm editing this in at the last second because I realized as I was getting up that I forgot to reveal the promo out of the box. And you want to know what it is? Fiend Artisan. Now this is a pull I'm happy with. This is an actual card that's worth some money, and as I said, this deck wouldn't actually mind Fiend Artisan being in it. I think this is a very strong card, and I think it's definitely going to see a lot of people trying to make it work. So I'll edit this in somewhere towards the end here. And so again, sorry about that. I almost left you guys all on a cliffhanger. Well, anyways, as I said again, I hope you guys have a great night, and I hope you guys are looking forward to the next video I release. See you around.